Welcome back, students. Today we will discuss about data types, variables, constants, and mathematical operators, in which you will be needing most of the time when you will be using your Arduino. So this is an example of our coding, our initial coding. If you try to remember what we have done in our first lecture, in here we have your pin mode 13 dito, pin mode 13 output, and then the same, this is actually our blink program. Now, as you can see here, the actual output of these two programs are practically the same. The only difference is meron kang makikitang itong int led, tapos itong 13 na nandito. And now, as you can see, the led here, the 13 here indicated na 13 na numerical value dito has been replaced with this LED. So, if you follow it through, we have told that in our program that LED is equal to 13. It's just like saying in your variables in your algebra, where x is equal to 12, then y is equal to 5. It's something like that. You are now assigning a value, this 12 value, to the variable x. Now, the same concept actually goes here. We are now actually assigning a value of 13 to the variable led. Yun ang ibig sabihin yan. But what makes it different from our regular algebra is that this word int here. What does that indicate? We will be learning that later. Okay. What is a data type? Data type, or simply type, is an attribute of data which tells the compiler or interpreter how the programmer intends to use the data. Or it determines what type of value an object can have and what operations can be performed. Well, most programming languages support basic data types. Integer numbers of varying sizes, floating point numbers, or we can say numbers with decimal values, which approximate real numbers, and characters or strings or letters, and booleans. And we will be learning much more of this later. So these are the data types. So bool indicates a logical true or false. We will have an example for this later. You have your byte. This is actually a number value that can contain 0 to 255. Car is actually a signed number, meaning if it is called signed, it has the ability to store negative values. Negative 128 to 127. The compiler will attempt to interpret this data as a character in some circumstances. Literally, in Arduino, our character is mostly used for characters or for single letters. Okay, that is actually the most commonly used purpose of this data type. The int, as you have seen in our program a while back, is assigned number from negative 32,768 to 32,767. So that is actually the value used for general purpose variables in Arduino. That is the reason why we can actually assign the LED values to let's say our example 13. Now 13 is actually in the range of our int data type. So it is less than 32,767. Now, sabi natin int 13. O pwede palang gamitin yung byte. Pwede. Actually guys, pwede nyong gamitin yung byte kung gusto nyo. Pero normally lang kasi, kapag nagpo-program ka, sa karamihan sa mga nakikita nyong program, byte ang nakikita natin. I know, it's integer ang nakikita natin. But you can actually make use of the byte. Now, ano ba yung purpose kung bakit nagagamit yung mga iba't ibang klase ng data type na to? Halimbawa, itong long. As you can see, the long is 2 billion 147,483,647. Yan yung range niya actually. So kapag ang value mo is in between these two numbers, this negative and its positive counterpart, pwede mong gamitin yung long. Halimbawa, 1 million. 1 million yung value mo. 1 million yung value mo. Ang gagamitin mo dyan is long. Hindi mo pwedeng gamitin yung int. Kasi kapag ginamit mo yung int, hindi po pwede kasi 32,000 lang ang kaya niya. Hanggang dito lang yung kaya niya. So yung 1 million, hindi niya ma-hold yun. Okay? Yun yung purpose nun. What about if you are trying to hold, let's say, more than 10 million? A value of 10 million. Therefore, you cannot actually make use of the long anymore because 10 billion. If it is 10 billion, the long cannot hold it anymore. It's because it is up to 2 billion only. So, you have to make use of the float value. Float data type is actually 3.4 with an exponent of raised to 38. So, 38 zeros yun. Ang dami nun. So, madami yun. So, you will be able to have a very, very large number dito sa float. String naman is a constant string or characters in double quotes. String of characters, meaning you can have a string or names. Or you can make of our school, yung buo. Mariano Marcos State University, miski spell out mo yon, pwede yan. As long as you make it string. We'll be learning more of these things pagdating natin sa programming part niya. Now, this is now the example of our data types. So, bool, as you can see, I named it bool is LED on. Palakay natin is LED on. Yan. So, mas malaki na siya. So, yun. As you can see, nag-declare tayo ng data type tsaka variable. Ang pangalan ng isLED on is called our variable, wherein we will be talking about that later. let's focus on the data type for the meantime. That is your bool. Yun yung bool natin. Byte, LED. Kaya sabi ko nga kanina, kasi yung LED naman natin up to 0 to 13. 0 to 13 lang naman. Actually, pwede naman nating lagyan yan ng 14 up to 21 because we can actually change that. We can make use of our analog pins to become a digital pin. Yung character naman natin, we can actually store yung LED code. Halimbawa, yung LED code mo, sabihin mong ang LED A, LED B, LED C, and so on and so forth. You can actually store that as a single letter. Okay? As a single letter. Now, for the integer, int, it is a signed number, and na-explain ko naman na yan kanina. So, ayan to. Lagyan natin ng A tsaka B. For the long, yan, parang example niya, no? Naglagay lang ako ng value yan. Basta siguraduhin mo lang na yung value mo is not greater than this 2 billion here. Parang mali yata ako dito. Hindi, pwede pa. Pwede pala. 1 billion lang pala siya. Yan. Pwede siya. And then you have your float. Float composes of, gaya nga ng pa natin, it's 3 times 4 times 10 raised to 38. O, daming zero niyan. So, hindi ko na alam yan. So, ang laki ng number na yan. You also have your string. Yung string natin, constant string of characters. Parang ito lang yon. My name is equal to Romel Viloria. Yan, you can now papansinin nyo, meron siyang double quotation. Okay? Tsaka yung open and close parenthesis. Now, ganun din dun sa car natin. Sa car natin, mapapansin nyo, naglagay ako ng single quotation. It's actually something like that. Okay? As long as it is a character, single letter, single quotation siya. Pero kapag string, it is always double quotation. You always have to remember that. Now, variables are names you give to computer memory locations which are used to store values. They also provide a way of labeling data with a descriptive name so our programs can be understood more clearly by the reader and ourselves. Meaning, parang yung LED natin, yung LED na nilalagay natin ng LED 13. Sinasabihan na natin ng value na yung LED natin is equivalent to our pin 13 na. So, balik tayo dito sa ating mga declarations. Pinalitan ko lang, is LED on, nilagyan ko lang siya ng true. LED is equal to 5. Now, ano ngayon yung variable dito? Ano ba yung variables? Sabi natin dito is the names. So, ang pangalan ng variable natin ngayon is yung is LED on. Yung LED code, yung AB, yung large number, yung sum, tsaka yung my name. Yung mga yan are called variables. Okay? Variables na ang tawag natin dyan. Now, it says here that it also provides a way of labeling data. Now, ang problem kasi dito kung minsan kapag masyado na halimbawa ang lines of gumawa ka ng program na abot na yan ng 500 lines of code. Mahaba yan. Ang hirap-hirap ng hanapin yung mga coding mo dyan. Pero kapag ang coding mo, pag halimbawa nag-variable ka, puro A, puro B, puro C, puro D, so on and so forth, pagdating dun sa halimbawa 400 plus lines, ano na nga ba yung, mamaya sasabihin mo, ano na nga ba yung laman ng A? Ano na bang silbi ng A? Hindi ko na maalala, ano na nga ba yung silbi ng B? So, ang point mo na ngayon dito is that instead of saying that or making that name as variable A, why not make it that, let's say, lead red. Lead red 10. Parang ganyan. So, alam mo na yung lead red 10 is equal to 10. Yung pin 10 nakakonek ay yung LED na kulay red, nakakonek yan sa pin 10. Okay? Yan yung ibig sabihin yan ngayon. So, ano na ngayon ang gagawin mo? So, alam mo ngayon na miski nasa malayo ka na dun sa program mo, alam mo na yung LED red, alam mo ngayon na itong variable na to, ito yung indicated na variable mo na nakakonect dun sa LED mo na red. Okay? So, ganun yung concept nun para at least binibigyan mo ng pangalan, ng proper na pangalan ng mga variables mo. Parang ganito lang din, na LED code, A, B, example lang ito. Okay? Example lang yung mga to. Yung my name. Okay? Ganyan yung point natin dyan. Sa paggagawa kasi ng variables, meron tayong tinatawag na naming conventions. Yung naming conventions is a set of rules for choosing the character sequence to be used for identifiers which denotes variables, types, functions, and other entities in source code and documentation. The main purpose is to reduce the effort needed to read and understand code and understand the source code. Tingnan natin kung paano yung implementation yan ngayon. Halimbawa, ito, yung two words. Makikita mo yung two words. Halimbawa, ito yung two words yung pangalan ng variable natin. Flat case ang tawag dyan. Flat case meaning two words nga. Ang problema kasi dito kung minsan kapag small letters, parang ang hirap basahin lalo kapag medyo mahaba. Ganon din kapag capital, puro capital yung gagamitin mo. No? Kapag puro capital ang gagamitin mo, medyo mahirap-hirap yan. Ang maganda is yung camel case. Camel case, two words. Kaya mapapansin ninyo kung paano ko sunulat yung is led on, naka-camel case ako. Is led on. This is actually a three-word variable, pero makikita mo yung difference ng tatlong word na pinagsama-sama ko. Naka-small letter yung una, then naka-capital yung first letter ng second word, tapos naka-capital ulit yung first letter ng third word. Pwede rin naman maglagay ka ng halimbawa, maglagay ka ng Tagalog, LED naka-off. Di ba? LED naka-off. So, mapapansin mo, naka-capital uli yun, naka-capital uli yun. Ayan ang tawag natin dyan na camel case. Pwede rin naman yung camel case na puro capital yung umpisa. Pwede rin naman yan. Yan yung mga tinatawag nating iba't ibang klase ng naming conventions. Meron din yung two words. Instead na magkalapit, maglalagay ka ng underscore in between. Okay? Underscore in between. O pwede rin yun, or tinatawag natin na snake case. So, ganun din kapag capital, 2 words, camel case na snake case. And meron din yung dash, pwede rin yung dash. Pwede rin. Mapapansin nyo, pare-pareho lang yung concept niya. Yun nga lang, now, ang point kasi dito is that kapag binabasa kasi ng, halimbawa, pag pinasa nyo sa akin yung program na to, mapapansin niyo na mas magandang intindihin yung variables ninyo kapag naka-naming convention siya. Kesa naman sa kung ano-anong nilalagay mong variable name. Halimbawa, ang balalagay ka ng variable name, XYZ, X, YY, okay, or let's say AAA, o kaya AAB. So, ang point na ngayon dyan, pagdating dun sa medyo malayo-layong part na ng program mo, ang magiging issue dyan is, naalala mo pa ba kung anong gamit ng XYZ? Naalala mo pa yung gamit ng XYY o kaya AAB? Kesa naman sa kumpara mo dito is LED on o kaya yung large number o kaya yung sum. O di mas madaling intindihin yon, miski nasa malayo ka na yung program mo, alam mo na yung sum na variable sum na talaga siya. Kesa naman sa iyong sum mo nilagay mo sa AAB. Ano na nga ba to? Sasabihin mong ganun, o di ba? Ang hirap intindihin. Okay, constants. Constant is a value that cannot be altered by the program during normal execution. So this is contrasted with the variable which is an identifier with a value that can be changed during normal execution. So, parang ganito lang yan. Yung constant, hindi nagbabago yan. Halimbawa, ito, LED light. Itong variable na LED light na to. Inassign ko na siya na 12. Miski anong gawin mo kapag kinol mo na yung LED light, ibig sabihin nun, naka-assign na siya sa 12. Hindi na magbabago yan. Kaya nga tinawag mong constant. Or, pwede mo rin sabihin yung const, and then you have your type, the variable name, equals the value. Kaya ito yung syntax niya. Ito rin yung syntax ng define. Okay? So, constant string, my name equals to Ramel Viloria. Bahala na kayo dyan. Kung gusto niyo ilagay yung pangalan nyo. Basta kapag kinol mo yung my name, ang lalabas ngayon dyan is yung nilagay mo rito. Hindi ka pwedeng maglagay ng panibagong value niyan ng constant. Yun lang yung point dyan. And last but not the least is your math operators. Madali lang naman. Yung math operators natin, it composes of your basic arithmetic operations. You have your addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And you also have your modulus. Ano ba yung modulo? Yung modulo actually gives the remainder. May mga purposes din yan. Depende yan sa ginagawa mo. Halimbawa, paano ba yung remainder? So, sasabihin natin na 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. Remainder, 0, di ba? Yan yung example natin. If that is division, let's say 10 divided by 3 is equal to 3, remainder 1. So, let's try to focus on these two. So, if we try to make use of the modulo, 10 modulo 2, sabi natin kanina, ang kukunin niya is yung remainder. Yung remainder ang magiging output mo. Therefore, ang sagot ng 10 modulo 2 will be the remainder, which is actually equal to 0. So, the same concept here, 10 modulo 3 is equal to the remainder, which is actually equal to 1. Yun lang yung purpose ng, yun lang naman siguro ang nakakalito sa inyo. Siguro, alam niyo naman na siguro yung addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Basta ang kwan lang dyan, ang operators lang natin is plus, minus, sa multiplication is asterisk, and division is slash. Ang bago lang sa inyo ngayon is the modulo. So, any questions? So, that sums up our lecture on data types, variables, constants, and mathematical operators. I hope you have learned something today. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video. Bye-bye.